Have you felt yourself speaking truth back when people were still sleepwalking? Did you hear the hairline crack in the wall before it came crashing down? You stood in rooms full of laughter and eye rolls. You're too sensitive, paranoid, doing the most. Time answered for you. Systems once so proud are splitting open. Slogans once worshipped are falling from their pedestals like plaster meeting flame. And those who dismissed your discernment now stare around with fear in their eyes. Today I'm not here to soothe your wounds. I'm here to awaken the power already forged into your bones. I'm here to nail down a truth that cannot be reversed. You are the chosen one, not chosen by a crowd, not certified by a degree or a chair at the table, chosen by a higher call, the call that shook you awake in nights when others slept, that drove you into the wilderness while others chased the lights. They called your caution fear, your faith superstition, your intuition disorder. But the cracks are exposed, truth is pushing up from the ground like a spring looking for daylight, and terror is catching those who taught you how to be silent. Hear me. You have not been lost. Rejection was not a detour, it was the map. Every door that slammed in your face was not punishment, it was heavenly direction. When they shuffled you aside, heaven pulled you from the trap. When they mocked your sensing, God underlined their words in red ink so this day could serve as evidence. You were anointed for this hour. Scripture speaks plainly, the Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. Amos 3:7. You don't need the title prophet to grasp it. You need only to recognize that what you heard, what you saw, what pressed heavy on your chest for years was not imagination. It was signal. It was assignment. It was your authority calling your own name. This authority is not something handed out on a stage. It isn't found in microphones, spotlights, pulpits, or nameplates. It was forged in fire and earned in silence. It was born from the times you stood alone instead of bowing to the crowd, from nights you swallowed tears yet kept your mouth clean, your heart straight, your eyes clear. It's welded to truth so tightly that you don't speak to be seen. You speak because truth will not allow you to stay quiet. And because of that, your voice carries weight, not because you shout, not because you're a talented orator, but because when you speak, heaven echoes. When you open your mouth, reality shifts. The enemy knows it, and that's why it fears you, not because you have medals, but because you carry a hammer of fire. Make no mistake, obedience is the throne your authority sits upon, not applause from the many, not follower counts, not conference handshakes. True authority is not built by clapping hands, it's built by choices no one sees. Again and again you chose integrity over convenience, truth over comfort, character over popularity. You rejected the shortcut, knowing the straight path has no back door. That's why when you speak, the ground beneath glossy cement trembles. Why when you walk, the darkness retreats even when it's dressed in moral costume. They mocked you as too much, too intense, too emotional, because deep down they sensed your voice was not just yours. You are the spiritual alarm they're afraid to hear, because hearing means tearing down their artificial wall of peace. You've been entrusted with a sensitivity the world calls paranoia. Truth is this: you are not predicting the future. You are decoding the present. You see beneath the lacquer to the rot in the wood. You feel the tension of the storm in a sky that looks clear. You carry the burden for things not yet named. You grieve collapses the crowd can't see. Your pain is not revenge, it is prophecy. Your scars are not for giggles, they are proof you passed through the fire without turning to ash, a map of where you died and rose again. That's why when flames break out there, you don't panic. You take a breath and whisper, I said this already, not to brag, but to confirm to yourself that you obeyed that call, no matter the cost. Let me name the truth they don't want to face. They didn't cast you out because you were wrong. They cast you out because you were right too soon. Agreeing with you would have forced them to face their own failures and hidden truths. Labeling you was their cheapest escape from change. So they stamped you with every sticker available. Dramatic, intense, superstitious, toxic. But time is a precise scalpel. It peeled the painted skin and exposed the loose joints in the system they adored. Saints they worshipped now showbone. Idols made of words crack under reality's weight. And while titles cannot save their owners, your words, once mocked, are now repeated in awkward whispers. People pretend to have discovered some great truth like it fell from the sky yesterday. But you know it roamed your chest for years, begging to be spoken, lived, and clarified. Understand your role right now. You are not the latecomer pointing at wreckage. You are the early warning system, the siren before the blaze, the bell before the quake. You don't come to stir chaos, you come to prevent it. Your authority is antidote, not gasoline. And if they dislike the bell, that's not your problem. Bells don't seek permission to ring, they ring because there's fire. You do not need permission to tell the truth. You speak because you covenanted with heaven to be faithful, not famous. Obedient, not accepted. You stand because you are assigned, not because you're applauded. Your test was never be liked. Your test has always been stand firm. Do not stain your assignment with the need to prove anything. You don't have to argue with those who laughed at you. The collapse is live streaming. The unseen cameras are rolling. Truth is chasing, catching, and collecting the debt. Houses built on the sand of illusion are falling in their owner's confusion, while you, anchored on rock, still stand. This is not an hour for bitter vengeance. It is an hour for holy vindication. Heaven wastes nothing. Not a tear, not a long night, not a contemptuous glance. Everything goes into the ledger. And when the hour comes, the book is opened. Your name doesn't need bold print. It's engraved. So, chosen one, reclaim your authority like you grasp a blade that's been tempered. Rise, not because you need to be seen, but because you can no longer pretend not to see. Speak not for applause, but because silence now would be betrayal. You owe nothing to your past. You owe clarity to the present and leadership to the future. Open your mouth, square your spine, lock your gaze. What you felt all this time was not a flaw, it was a beacon. What they called drama was heaven's alert tone. What they called weakness was a compass guiding you through the gale. You passed through the fire, you passed through the night. You passed through the death of your pleasing version. What remains is you, chosen, anointed, entrusted. Do not dilute the message, do not dim the bell, do not apologize for light. Darkness does not need your apology, it needs a boundary. And hear this promise: regret is taking the shortcut back to those who dismissed you, not so you can gloat, but so justice can balance the scales. They will learn their lesson, you will do your part. As they gather shards, you will rebuild atop the ruins with a blueprint not of this world. As they look for a reasonable leader, they'll realize true authority has been here all along, in the one They brushed off as too much. You don't need their invitation. You've been given divine appointment, and the hour has struck. You want to know how true authority moves? Remember the rooms you stepped into with a trembling heart, but a straight spine, where the air shifted merely because you dared name the elephant. Your authority didn't come from volume, it came from the clarity of your spirit. This authority asks no permission, needs no introduction, wants no dramatic soundtrack. It sits with you in silence and says, "Obey." Then it leads you into fire, not to burn you, but to temper you. The hammer of testing struck your metal again and again until sparks flew like small stars announcing your shape was set. So when you re-enter the world, people can't explain why your footsteps make the floor quiver. They only feel their own hearts being questioned. Because you no longer breathe to the beat of applause, you live to the rhythm of obedience. Here's the hinge: obedience is nothing like subservience. Subservience fears systems, obedience reveres truth. You've learned when to keep your mouth closed and when you must speak. You've learned to say no to seats that ask you to bow. You've learned to say yes to roads grown over with grass. Each morning you read the signs instead of the comments. Each night you weigh your heart, not your followers. These unseen habits have stacked an invisible weight around your words. When you say don't, it isn't prohibition, it's a survival guide. When you say time's up, it isn't personal power, it's the bell of justice. When you say, well, now, look into the eyes of those who mocked you. Do you see the fatigue floating behind their thin smiles? Do you hear the hollowness in sentences that sound so sure? That hollow is what happens when a soul has lived too long away from truth. It's the echo of rooms lit bright by bulbs but devoid of fire. They called you too emotional because they've gone numb. Their nerve of conscience has calcified a turn. It isn't regression, it's a lifeline in the riptide. They called your discernment made up because discernment demands responsibility and change, while fantasy lets them keep sleeping. But when systems began to shake, masks dropped, and pretty numbers couldn't cover the stench, they repeated your words without citations. They whispered the lines you wrote with tears. They renamed as awakening the very things they once called dramatic when you spoke them seasons earlier. You have the right to be angry, but instead of burning your energy on arguments, let regret be their teacher. Regret is the harshest instructor. It doesn't shout, it whispers nightly. It reminds them of invitations refused, of alarms silenced, of bells they muted for fear of judgment. As for you, do not let hatred soak your heart. Let mercy do its work. Mercy is not soft on wrong. Mercy is hard on truth and open-handed with the repentant. You name darkness, but you don't kiss its hand. You set boundaries, but you do not close heaven's gate. You are straight like an arrow, its tip dipped in oil for healing. Some ask, how do I know it's discernment, not paranoia? You know by the fruit. Paranoia drives you to barricade, to fear, to build walls and burn bridges. Discernment leads you to sobriety and humility, to build boundaries and keep doors open for light. Paranoia feeds ego, discernment feeds assignment. Paranoia wants to be right, discernment wants what's true. You've tasted the fruit of discernment long enough to know when you listen, peace doesn't leave you even if you weep. When you speak, life moves even if some walk away. When you act, darkness retreats even if crowds grumble. That is the authority of the called, not the self-appointed. Let me tattoo this into your bones. You do not predict the future. You decode the present. A person tuned to heaven's frequency needs no crystal ball, only holiness in the small habits. Mute the noise, open the word, keep a soft heart, clean hands, clear eyes. Do that and you'll see the blueprint of lies. It always demands you forget one slice of truth to purchase peace. But peace bought by forgetting is a product with an expiration date. Truth catches it like daylight catches dusk. And when light pours into the room, you don't need to yell, "I was right." You just stand. Your presence already answers before questions arrive. What next? Act in authority. Turn clarity into decisions. Choose the work that demands integrity over the paycheck that demands compromise. Slow your speech to speak right. Write less to write true. Refuse jokes that humiliate people. Don't like content that blinds the conscience. Draw boundaries where needed, even with those you love, because love is not indulgence. Forgive, not to let them off the hook, but to get yourself off the hook of bitterness. Forgiveness is cutting the cord, not forgetting the knife. You remember, so you don't repeat. You release, so you can move. And you build in the ruins. Somebody has to light the hearth in a house where the wind whistles through the walls. Somebody has to gather bricks and lay true walls that won't curve under the weight of flattery. Somebody has to reteach the language of truth that no is mercy when it saves a person from the cliff, that slow is wise speed when fevered news makes people run. Somebody has to do it, and that somebody is you, not to prove them wrong, but to keep your vow to be faithful. Not because you need followers, but because you're under orders to lead. Leading here is not podium work, it's face-to-face living. Leading is asking, whose feet can I wash today, instead of who will lift me up today. It's looking into a tired soul and saying, "You're not crazy." You're awake. Breathe, then look back at the road. Every rejection was not a misunderstanding, it was precision. If they had kept you, you might not be you. If they had clapped, you might have missed the bell. If they had opened the door, you might have entered a room designed to turn you into a copy. God wastes nothing, not a lonely night, not mockery, not the rejection email, not the meeting where you were sidelined. All of it turned to oil. All of it feeds the lamp you carry. Tonight, while the world fumbles in the dark, that lamp is bright enough to lead a multitude. Let this nail in the final frame. You're not here to perform, you're here to shift atmospheres. When you enter, the room changes tempo. When you speak, the sky inside others cracks just enough for light to get in. When you pray, invisible chains go click. Not because you're special above others, but because you walk with truth. Walking with truth always creates movement of air, choices, lifestyles. Sometimes that movement makes people uncomfortable. They'll call you divisive. But truth has always divided light and darkness. Without a boundary, there is no garden. You are the boundary, you are the fence that keeps the garden. You are the marker between counterfeit and real. Stand there. Stand right.
If this resonates, let it ring far. Hit like so this signal carries. Subscribe so we keep the rhythm of wakefulness. And if your heart is thundering, comment 777 to confirm you're ready to live fully in your given authority. Share this message with a light warrior who needs to hear they're not crazy. They're called. Number 1, they mistook your heart of gold for a doormat. But gold doesn't wear down in mud. It gleams brighter when rinsed by tears. Remember the times you gave kindness and received only sarcasm, the times you held the door and it slammed back into your face. Spiritual psychology says this plainly: don't set a banquet of goodness before the greedy, or they'll assume everyone's a waiter. So heaven allowed them to treat you shallowly, not to humiliate you, but to etch on the public board of justice that your love was real, your giving was right, that you never played trade and barter games. Truth is, they regret it. They regret tossing a diamond into the pantry and calling it roadside gravel. And you are the diamond, pressure-proof, fire-tested, mud-immune. They failed when they thought they could define your value by the way they treated you. Your value was set by the one who named you before the world learned to spell worth. Number 2, they fear your authority because it cannot be negotiated. Authority forged in fire and minted in silence. You learned the tongue of the furnace, the roar of trial, the pop of fake beliefs shattering, the soft cry of a soul stretching to hold more truth. Soul psychology shows that applause addicts cannot handle the presence of the obedient because obedience turns down the noise and they live on noise. You enter and the atmosphere shifts because you don't need them to authorize your existence. Heaven already stamped you. Here's what makes them tremble: they cannot revoke what they did not give. So when they label you too intense, it's because you remind them truth doesn't grin at compromise. They regret it, even if they won't say it. As for you, engrave this in bone. Your voice needs no degree to be clear. It echoes the throne, and only darkness complains when light draws near. Number 3, your discernment isn't vague intuition. It's an antenna tuned to reality, breaking in real time. You saw rot under paint, heard the crack behind the wall, felt the pressure of a storm with a sky still blue. When you spoke, they laughed. Paranoia. That's the ego's self-defense. Behavioral psychology calls it cognitive resistance. To preserve an illusion, people bend their hearts before they bend to facts. But truth, like floodwater, travels the lowest lanes, and nothing stops it. You stood on your rock and watched it rise over structures built on empty promises. You didn't cheer, your heart was heavy. You don't enjoy watching people drown, you want them awake. That's why your voice is heavy. It carries burden. It's unpolluted by revenge and unwarped by bitterness. It says what must be said when it must be said, because your mercy would rather prevent fire than film a burning house. They regret not hearing the bells, but don't silence your bell because others fear the sound. Bells exist to ring when there's fire, and you exist to warn before flames take everything. Number 4, your rejection wasn't a detour, it was divine direction. Be honest, if they hadn't pushed you out, you might have settled into their cushion of illusions. If they hadn't mocked you, you might have turned down the volume to please the boardroom. Rejection is protection, an invisible arm pulling you from a table whose main course was compromise. Philosophy of regret says people regret missed chances more than mistakes. They will remember the door they shut when you knocked, because that door opened to their own healing. Today, as systems crack, they're standing at broken walls with bare hands, asking the old question, why didn't we listen? They regret mistaking your gentleness for weakness, your silence for surrender, your tears for defeat. But you and heaven know your silence was strategy, your tears were baptism, and your retreat was only to gain the runway for a 2-footed leap onto stone. Number 5, vindication is broadcasting live. Titles cannot rescue their owners when masks fall. Stages can't outshine dawn. The once adored must now answer to steel-cold truth. Ironically, the lines once mocked are now gospel whispered in hallways. They warned us. But you're not there to collect late apologies. You're there to keep turning clarity into action. You forgive, not to erase memory, but so you don't drag the corpse of bitterness along your way. You set boundaries, not to build icy walls, but to keep the gate bright, so the sincere have a way back in. In this new atmosphere, you do not perform. You shift the climate. You enter and the room changes tempo, not because of your name, but because of the name above all names within you.
Your presence is an answer before questions are asked, a testimony before court is called, a candle before the switch flips. Let this war drum cadence ring through. They regret it, you are diamond, they failed, and you are untouchable by dirty hands of deceit. Each repetition stakes your mind to truth. Repetition isn't there to hype emotion, it's to drive fence posts into your promised ground. You need it. Winds still blow and nights still stretch. You also need something else, a discipline of authority. Discipline to say no to invitations that soften the message. Discipline to say yes to the narrow path. So discipline to rise early, return to silence, stare the mirror down and say, I don't need to be accepted, I need to be obedient. That discipline keeps your blade sharp. It prevents your heart from rotting in the intoxication of power. It keeps your feet from slipping on the thin ice of fame. Now, step into a higher tier of discernment. You don't predict the future, you decode the present to release the future. When you call the now by its right name, lie is lie, compromise is compromise, cruelty is cruelty. You break the spell that freezes destiny. Generations need you to hold the line here and now, so they won't pay interest on silence contracts their ancestors signed in fear. Your victory isn't just for you, it's a course correction for your bloodline. Choose truth over cheap peace and you close a door darkness used to enter your house. Choose forgiveness over vengeance and you cut a chain that bound a branch of your family for 3 generations. Teach your children to distinguish light from dark and you hand them the compass others hid from you. That's strategic authority, not performative power. See it yet? The cracking systems did not arrive to destroy you, they arrived to reveal you. Rubble is the backdrop for the chosen one's work site. Broken bricks, pick them up, split cement, mix anew. Old walls won't stand, build straighter, truer, thicker. Territory once ruled by fear now belongs to truth. When people hunt for a common denominator in the chaos, they meet your calm gaze. You're not calm because you don't see the storm. You're calm because you belong to the one who commands it. You're not silent because you lack words. You're silent when needed, so your words come free of ego static. Sometimes you'll roar, sometimes you'll whisper. Either way, the air changes because real authority isn't about volume, it's about alignment with reality. If your heart is burning, pour oil on the flame the right way. Tap, like so the algorithm doesn't bury this bell under junk noise. Subscribe so we keep our wakeful tempo together. Share this with a light warrior about to quit so they know they're not crazy, they're called. And if you're ready to stand firm in your portion, comment 777 as a seal of agreement. We don't bow to crowds, we bow to truth. Here is the ultimate truth, painful for the betrayer, liberating for you. They didn't lose you to an argument, they lost you because they traded light for a room without windows. They didn't just reject a person, they rejected an invitation to be saved. They didn't toss a friendship. They kicked away the ladder heaven lowered as the flood rose. They thought they were managing their reputation, not knowing reputation was managing them. They thought they were steering the narrative, not knowing the story had already written its ending in the ink of truth. What shocks them now isn't only the collapse of systems, it's the clarity that they themselves dimmed, the only lamp left burning. Regret is a sentence without a cell because it imprisons people in memory. Every time the past rewinds to the scene where they smirked at your bell, their heart tightens a notch. They see your silhouette slip beyond the boundary, hear the door click for the sake of a border, and they know they should have stood and said, "I'm sorry." Keep speaking, they did not. Now the only song echoing in their hallways is the refrain, "If only." If only we listened. If only we humbled ourselves. If only we feared truth less. You don't have to cage them. If only has shackles enough. As for you, take hold of your full transformation map. You once woke people with your voice. Now you wake them with your presence. You traveled the arc, from underestimated to undeniable, from pushed out to setting the table, from crying in hidden rooms to drying the tears of thirsty souls. You learned the art no one taught, candor bathed in mercy, strength dressed in humility, fire under self-discipline, warm, not scorching. You no longer need a stage, you are the atmosphere. You no longer need a crowd, you are the community. People lit by your candle, carrying flame to others until darkness runs out of hiding places. The summit is not them apologizing at your feet. The summit is not needing their apology to walk rightly. It is loving truth more than the feeling of winning. It is looking into the eyes of someone who mocked you and is saying inside, "I forgive you," but the boundary stays. May God get you across the river. I will keep building on this shore. Forgiveness never cancels boundaries. Forgiveness frees the heart. Boundaries protect the calling. Burn this in your memory. Their regret is never your assignment. You are not the secretary of someone else's memories. You are the architect of a faithful future. Regret is the work of their conscience and of God. Your work is keeping your bell on time, your lamp oiled, your words free of ego's odor. Standing here at the summit, you see a deeper truth. You are not the center. Truth is that realization makes you lighter, and light rises. You no longer drag the need to prove. You no longer stoop under the urge to fix everything. You do your part, clear, faithful, consistent, and let truth do the rest. That is the freedom of the chosen, freedom from control, freedom from the savior trap. You are not God, you are an instrument, and a good instrument knows when to sheath itself, when to sharpen, when to rest, so it cuts cleaner tomorrow. Here lies meaning's crest. The pain that once folded you actually forged your spine straighter. Every turned back pulled you toward true north. Every jeer became a footing stone. Every shut door lengthened the hallway to the hidden room where real changes start. You thought you were late to destiny. Destiny was waiting for the exact you, purged of bitterness, stripped of ego armor, veined with truth. You no longer march to anger's stomp. You move with peace's steady drum. Your peace isn't naive, it's peace that's met the battlefield and still chooses love. It's peace that keeps a sword drawn, one that cuts darkness, not souls. It's peace that stares chaos down and says, I don't belong to you, but I'm sent to set order here. Frame regret in proper light, so you never stray. Regret is the natural penalty for betraying light. It requires none of your management. It arrives on its own through sleepless nights, through a random conversation snagging a wound, through a child's sentence, through an old melody, through a stranger's face that looks a bit like you. Regret doesn't shout, it knocks. It doesn't pick locks, it finds the key. Memories not yet surrendered. You're not there to crank the volume or force them to listen. You're there to keep lighting lamps for those who want to return. If someone truly comes back, you have mercy enough to say, this time, enter by the door of truth. If they come back to perform, you have discernment enough to keep the door closed. That is mature power, the power of boundaries soaked in mercy. Your transformation completes one cycle and opens another, from alarm sounder to builder, from exposer to architect, from pointing at cracks to laying cornerstone. You will rewrite the rules of spaces you enter, replacing loud equals power with clarity equals authority, liked equals right with true equals right, speed equals smart with faithful equals durable. Not by slogans, but by habits. You won't chase the front page, you'll build what lasts. While the world sprints after what sparkles, you choose what glows from within. That light doesn't shatter when it falls, it soaks. It soaks into words, into how you treat the waiter, into how you respond to false comments, into how you lose without breaking, win without pride. That is how you shift atmospheres, not with one big blast, but with the steady climate of truth. Finally, press your hand to your chest and affirm, I have risen, and those who refuse truth are left with regret. This is not for arrogance, it's for orientation. You rose not over them, but over your former self, the self that needed acceptance to breathe, that dimmed the bell to dodge gossip, that dodged conflict by self-betrayal. You buried that self in tears and rose with lungs full of sky. You don't belong to the herd, you belong to the hand that formed you. From now on, each step you take is a declaration to those sitting in the shadow of doubt, there is a way. You are the signpost, you are the soul's traffic light. You are the bridge across the chasm. When you stand, others dare to step. If your heart beats with this cadence, keep it. Don't let the crowd derail your rhythm. Don't let cold stares freeze a warm heart. Don't let charts grade your worth. Let truth conduct you, won't miss the beat. And when it's your turn, raise others, tune them to their own bell, so that one day when you're tired, theirs will ring in your stead. That is the legacy of the chosen, not fingerprints on every door, but light on every stair. Inhale and hear destiny's footsteps drawing near. This is the thread that ties the years you've patiently woven. The light you carry, the authority you guard, the bell you refuse to silence. You've traveled far enough to see nothing was random. The cold rooms you passed through, the silent dinners swallowing tears, the meetings where they pretended you weren't there. Every scene was a targeted lesson, a designed furnace. You thought you needed explanations. Now you know you only needed sending. You thought you needed a crowd. Now you know you only needed the sky. You once hid the bell. Now you are the tower. No camera required, no human endorsement, no long ritual. You stand and the air changes. You go quiet and pretended noise becomes abrasive. You speak one sentence and the room alters its trajectory. That is the undeniable proof you are the chosen one. You don't chase titles, they can't hold you. You don't demand stages, they're just corners in the atmosphere you carry. You won't lower your standards to blend in. Blending with darkness is complicity. You stand, and your standing draws the boundary. You stand, and your standing shows the path. Look back. A. You expose the true nature of authority, not built by clapping hands, not padded by fame, not bought with schemes. Yours was forged in fire, earned in silence, aligned with truth. Your daily choices, integrity over comfort, character over celebrity, have condensed into a gravity false words can't escape. B. You stepped into the depths of discernment, not a crystal ball, but an inner compass forever pointing north toward truth. You didn't guess the future. You decoded the present until the future had nowhere to hide. You carried burden, and that burden became oil for the lamp. See, you endured rejection, mockery, labels, and you rose. They shoved you out to keep a cheap peace. Heaven drew you out to protect a priceless mission. They regret it because truth caught up. They failed when they thought labels could replace mirrors. You are diamond. Pressure makes you sharper. Fire, brighter. Mud, unsoiled. Vindication is obvious. Systems cracking. Idols unmasked. And the voice once laughed at becoming the reference text. But you don't need a billboard apology. The only apology you accept is changed behavior. To you without it, sorry is smoke. You don't inhale smoke, you breathe the open air of truth. Everything points to one command: act in authority. No waiting for extra signs, no begging for guarantees, no asking for invites. You have light, turn it to full. You have the bell, ring it on time. You have the map, walk it without delay. The clarity you purchased with blood and tears must become lifestyle decisions, habits. You don't live to prove others wrong. You live to prove truth right. What does that mean practically? It means writing lines that cleanse the air, even if few read. It means choosing partners who won't flirt with darkness, even if you sign fewer deals. It means setting boundaries with a clean no, even if you lose fake nods. It means forgiving though the memory still aches, loving without selling truth, being firm without freezing mercy. You'll remember, accepted is not the metric. Obedient is. Followed is not the status. Faithful is. And when you wobble, you recite our flagstones. They regret. That's not my job. I am diamond. No one can price me. They failed. I am not fireworks. I am dawn. Now legacy. The chosen don't come to perform. They come to shift atmospheres. How? Not with tempests of feeling that fade, but with the durable climate of truth. You become the kind of person whose arrival pulls conversations back from gossip to facts, whose silence lowers voices, whose smile unknots tension, whose questions trip lies. You don't humiliate, you clarify, you don't scheme, you speak plainly, dipped in mercy. You don't manipulate, you guide, you don't coerce, you build boundaries that protect freedom. And the wonder is that your presence becomes an answer before questions arise. Where you stand, others feel they can be honest, turn around, begin again. That's the power of light. It doesn't shout, it shines. It doesn't demand, it invites. Oh, it doesn't bribe, it transforms. Yes, some will call you extreme. In reality, you're consistent. Some will accuse you of hating the system. In reality, you love truth more than any system. Some will slander hypocrite. In reality, you hold real virtue so firmly that fake has nowhere to live. Smile and keep moving. Close every script that asks you to soften the bell to be less annoying. Refuse every deal requiring you to strip off your conscience to take the seat. Choose the road you can examine in the mirror without blinking. That is the path of the chosen. It is narrow but solid, lonely but bright, long but beautiful. It leads to the place where your dream crosses your generation's need. bridges, shelters, lighthouses. You don't just succeed, and you become infrastructure for hope. Now the summary sharp as a blade, you have risen, and those who refused truth are left with regret. Not for gloating, for orientation. You rise not to stand on anyone's head, you rise so you can bend to pull up anyone willing to stand. But you will not bend so far that darkness covers you. Forgive, yes. Blend number mercy, yes. Trade truth, no. Open heart, yes. Open borders to lies, no. You are soft as water toward the repentant, hard as rock toward compromise. You know when to be peace, when to be flame, when to be still, when to roar. At all times, you know whose you are. If this lit the vein of fire in your chest, do 3 things now, no delay, no tomorrow. First, seal your alliance with truth by a small, solid act. Tap, like so this bell doesn't get buried under nonsense noise. Second, join the wakeful by subscribing, not to count numbers, but to keep cadence together, to hone your bell weekly, to keep from drifting when new waves of deceit roll in. Third, share this with a light warrior close to giving up, a soul who heard the cracking but was mocked into self-doubt. Send it like lowering a rope into a deep well, and right now, if your heart agrees, comment 777 as a signature. I choose obedience over acceptance, faithfulness over followers, truth over cheap peace. Write that number like signing your covenant. They regret. Let them study their lesson. You are diamond. Let pressure polish you. They failed. Let truth stamp the record. And you, chosen one, step out and shift the atmosphere. When you appear, rooms change tempo. When you pray, unseen locks click open. When you work, structures rise on rock. When you love, hearts remember the road home. That's your authority. No license required, no fear of revocation, not for sale. Take it, live it, and multiply it. Like, share, subscribe, and comment 777 if you're ready to live as the chosen, not tomorrow, but right now. See you in the next journey of light.